What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, undefeated two-division world champion, currently the WBA lightweight world champion, superstar boxer, Gervonta Tank Davis, is close friends with undefeated, unified WBC IBF welterweight world champion, superstar boxer, Errol the True Spence Jr. Errol the True Spence Jr. has a highly anticipated showdown and ring return coming up November 21st against former junior welterweight unified world champion and former WBC welterweight world champion, two-division world champion, Danny Swift Garcia. That is coming up November 21st. This is highly anticipated ring return because we know September 28th, Errol the True Spence Jr. unified the titles against two-time welterweight world champion superstar boxer Showtime Sean Porter. That was September 28th of 2019. And then October 10th of 2019, Errol the True Spence Jr. suffered a horrific car accident, which a lot of people thought that he may not even come back to the sport of boxing. With that said, Gervonta Tank Davis was asked about how he believes the fight will play out. And surprisingly enough, surprising to me, he says that it's a 50-50 fight. And that Danny Garcia sits down on his punches, is heavy-handed in both hands, and has knockout power, and has boxing IQ, and has the ability to box. That's surprising to me because most people peg Errol Spence Jr. as the odds-on favorite. So to be somebody close to Errol Spence Jr. and in the sport, and he has a highly anticipated showdown coming up himself, October 24th, against four-division world champion Mexican superstar boxer Leo Santa Cruz. And Gervonta Tank Davis and Errol Spence, he's very close to the sport, and he's a student of the sport. He participates in the sport. He's close friends with Errol Spence. So for him to say it's a 50-50 fight, where you have a lot of fans and a lot of people and a lot of media who said that they didn't even want to see this fight because they believed it was a mismatch. Now, one has to wonder, has the gap closed due to the fact that Errol Spence suffered that horrific car accident and nobody knows how he's going to bounce back? Is that the reason for people feeling like this is a 50-50 fight? I said that this is a 70-30, 65-35 fight in favor of Errol Spence, should we see the same version of Errol Spence prior to the car accident. Now, nobody knows how he's going to return. Nobody knows what we're going to see. Obviously, Errol Spence Jr. believes in himself, and obviously, his trainer, legendary trainer and trainer of the year, Derrick James, believes in Errol Spence and his ability, right? So with that said, I believe that it's a bigger gap than 50-50, right? I believe that Errol Spence Jr., what he does great, he could definitely offset what Danny Garcia does great, because Danny Garcia doesn't have quick feet. He actually has slow feet. They're educated, but they're slow. Now, his hand speed is slow on top of it, but he does have power in both hands. Now, Errol Spence showed us that he is versatile. Against Mikey Garcia, he showed us that he could box from the outside if he so chooses. Against guys like Lamont Peterson, he showed he can mix it up, box from the outside, and do it on the inside if so needed. And against Showtime Sean Porter, when Sean Porter forced the action to stay in the pocket, he showed us that he could be successful in the pocket for 12 rounds. When we saw guys like Keith Thurman, former unified welterweight world champion, former WBC and WBA welterweight world champion, he took the WBC strap off of Danny Garcia. He showed us that you box from the outside against Danny Garcia and you will be successful. Then we saw Danny Garcia face Showtime Sean Porter, in which this is where Sean Porter picked up the WBC strap. He fought Danny Garcia for the vacant WBC strap after Keith Thurman was stripped of the WBC strap that he took from Danny Garcia due to inactivity. Danny Garcia got the opportunity to fight for it once again against Sean Porter, and Sean Porter showed us that you could box from the outside. Just box from the outside. Usually Sean Porter is a dog and he likes to mix it up on the inside. He makes it rough, rugged. He tests your will, your endurance, and your mental toughness, right? But Sean Porter, when he fought Danny Garcia, he just chose to box from the outside. Now, Errol Spence is bigger than both Keith Thurman and Sean Porter. He has a longer range, and I believe he has, he's more, I don't want to say he's more technically skilled than Keith Thurman, but he's more disciplined than Keith Thurman. He's not going to give you as many openings. He uses his jab more than Keith Thurman uses his jab. He's more precise than Keith Thurman. And his body attack is more relentless than Keith Thurman. So his ability to box from the outside, being the bigger man, he's going to be bigger than Danny Garcia with a longer reach. He's going to have that advantage. And he showed us that he has the ability to move around the ring if he so chooses. Makes it a bigger gap than 50-50. Now, Gervonta Tank Davis close to the situation. Obviously, Gervonta Tank Davis, has insight in both camps, right? I'm sure he knows people in Danny Garcia camp. I'm sure, and obviously he knows people in Errol Spence camp because he's closer to Errol Spence. At least at one point they were. They used to hang out and everything. So, Gervonta Tank Davis, I think that the fact that Errol Spence suffered that horrific car accident October 10th is giving Danny Garcia more of an opportunity to be successful in his fight against Errol Spence, because it's the unknown. Nobody knows what you're going to get from Errol Spence Jr. I beg to differ. I think that obviously we don't know. Only time is going to tell. Only we'll know when he gets in the ring. But I believe that Errol Spence will be a better version of Errol Spence than we saw even the Mikey Garcia and Sean Porter fight, because Errol Spence's mindset currently shows us that and teaches us that he's more locked in and focused within the sport of boxing. He's more dedicated to the sport of boxing than he was before, and he admitted that. He's reconnected with his strength and condition coach, Blu-ray, that he had, stopped participating and using and training with, leading up into the Sean Porter, Mikey Garcia fights. I think he stopped using them after the Lamont Peterson fight. And so he's aligned himself with Blu-ray, his strength and condition coach. He says that he's rededicated himself. He in between fights, he will let himself balloon up and weight, and then have to have weight loss camps. He chose not to do that. You see him training every single day, running every single day, focused every single day, not hanging out. So I think that we're going to get a better version of Errol Spence. And this is no slight against Danny Garcia, because I believe that Danny Garcia is a great fighter. He's a 2-division world champion. He is nothing to sneeze at. And Danny Garcia has knockout power on both hands, absolutely. But I just think that Errol Spence, what he does great, can offset what Danny Garcia does great. So I think it's a bigger gap in between. I think it's more favor in Errol Spence than 50-50. But you never know what's going to happen. Nothing is a given in the sport of boxing. It's no foregone conclusion. Errol Spence is just going to go in there and win the fight. But I highly expect him to win the fight. So I disagree with Gervonta Tank Davis. I don't believe it's a 50-50 fight. I do think it's about a 65-35 fight in favor of Errol Spence Jr. because I do think that he is rededicated himself. He will be sparring again Monday, September 28th, this upcoming Monday, after Jamel Charlo faces off against Jason Rosario. Obviously, they share the same trainer in Derrick James, so Derrick James can't be there. So he says that Errol Spence will be back sparring on Monday. So he's already in training camp, but he'll be back sparring on Monday. So I think that that's huge. I think that we're going to see a better version of Errol Spence, and I think this is going to be, he's going to put on a show. He's going to put on an absolute show. So I can't wait to see how this all plays out. But I disagree with Gervonta Tank Davis. I think that Errol Spence is the favorite, should be the favorite in this fight. And this is no slight against Danny Garcia, because Danny Garcia is great. He's a 2-division world champion. That's not by accident. So I think that Errol Spence, body attack, his timing, Danny Garcia has great timing. And he could time Errol Spence Jr. if Errol Spence Jr. stays in the pocket too long or stays in range for Danny Garcia too long. I definitely feel like Danny Garcia can time him because he's a timing fighter, because he don't have the ability, the hand speed. He don't have, the blazing hand speed and the blazing foot speed. So he makes up for that with his timing. And so if Errol Spence does stay in the pocket too long, Danny Garcia can time him. And we did see Kell Brook have success against Errol Spence, pushing the fight forward. Errol Spence went into his high guard, and he kind of blinds himself in his offense when he does that, right? He blinds his own work. He goes into this high guard, and he goes kind of straight back, And Danny Garcia, with his time and his power, can force that upon Errol Spence. But he has to be willing to take back what Errol Spence gives back. That's the difference. So let's see how this all plays out. But drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed? Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.